Hello readers, welcome to Butterfly Booktubing. Today we have entered November. We've been in November for a couple weeks now, and I wanted to just throw out some ideas for nonfiction November. This was an idea that I heard of from a booktuber called Lee Nichols, and she is doing nonfiction November. I am not certain if she is the one that started Nonfiction November. I believe she is. So, I wanted to just give you some ideas of some books that you might enjoy for the month of November, for Nonfiction November. A few of these I have read, and some I have not. The first book is My Name is Matov. This book is told from the story of Matov Mahmoudi, and she is one of the principal characters in the movie Not Without My Daughter. This is the little girl, Matov, whom her mother tries to sneak out of the country. This is told from Matov's perspective of what happened while she was over there in another country. So I thought that would be a good read for some people that are interested in true stories. Also, of course, who doesn't know this book, but this is one of all-time favorite books. It is The Diary of Anne Frank. So if you don't know the story or would like to reintroduce yourself to this story, which I think you should if you haven't lately, it's from the diary of a young Danish girl named Anne Frank, and it takes you on an experience where she has to go into hiding with her family from the Nazis. So this is another book that may be of interest to you. I also have, and this really upsets me because I don't understand why some of these books are in nonfiction, or I'm sorry, not in fiction. They're in teen fiction or some category of that nature. When you go into the bookstore, they're not in nonfiction, which I believe these are nonfiction books. So the next book that was actually in the nonfiction section, which if you know why these books would be in nonfiction, leave a comment below and explain this to me, because I am uncertain as to why they would not be in nonfiction and they are placed in fiction. Because these definitely are not fictional stories. Fictional stories. These are true stories, or stories based on real life. So the next one is Schindler's List. Of course, it's about this German man named Oskar Schindler, who opens a business in Auschwitz-Birkenau, and he is responsible for saving a lot of lives, Jewish lives, and lives of other individuals. So this is a very good book that I think would be important to read. But it is Schindler's List. And it's also a very good movie, which I really enjoyed that. The next book I read, and I also took it on myself to listen to the audiobook. A lot of times when I read, I will go back and forth from audiobook to the book, just to save time, to help me grasp the story better. Or I'll actually listen to the audiobook while I'm reading, or if I'm doing chores or something else around the house or any other activity and I still want to be involved with my book, I will switch to audiobook. And the audiobook on this next book is very good. I really enjoyed the narrator. But the book, it's also a movie, and I really love the story. It is a precious, sweet story, and it is a sweet cat named Bob. I love the audiobook, love the story, love the narrator, and it's a true story about a man in England who basically finds this cat that saves his life, and he names him Bob. It's a sweet story of courage, of finding hope, and they basically saved each other, and it's just really sweet. So I think this would be a really good book, and it's a movie, and if you haven't seen the movie, you should see it too, because I really enjoyed it. Then, after I watched the movie, read the book, listened to the audiobook, I found out that there was a sequel to this book. I was really excited about that. The book is The World According to Bob, and I have not read this one yet. I am looking forward to reading this one, and I'll probably download the Audible version as well to see if I like the narrator, because it's a really good book. The first one is really good, and I love the cat. My wife and I have a orange cat too, so it's really cute to see a story of a cat and a man that become good friends. So I can't wait to dive into this book. It is a true story. The next book I have not read. I'll say that, but my wife has read it, and she will tell you that the movie is better than the book, but it is a good story. It's not... The book is still worth reading because of the story. It's just the way it's written doesn't do it justice. But that is The Zookeeper's Wife by Diane Ackerman. I listened to a little bit of the audiobook for this one. I didn't like the audiobook of the narrator for this book either, but I enjoyed the movie and I enjoyed the story. It is a true story, based on a true story of this gentleman who owns a zoo, and his wife and him are taking care of the zoo during Nazi Germany, and the things that happen during that time in their lives, and what they go through, and how they help save several lives. The other one book that I'm interested in, that I haven't gotten to, but my wife has gotten to, and it's very hard for her to get through this book because it took her several months, just because it is it has very disturbing stories in it. But it's important to know history. Those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it. And that is The Holocaust Diaries. The Secret Holocaust Diaries, The Untold Stories of Nona Bannister. There are several stories in here, the true stories. And this book was found in the religious section under Judaism. So that was a good thing. At least it wasn't the correct section, in my opinion. I don't know. There may be some reason that some of these books were found in fiction section, but come on. Schindler's List, Oskar Schindler, he was a real person. Those events really did happen. That my wife did have a hard time getting through this story because it is traumatic. It is about stories of the Holocaust, or real life events that occurred during the Holocaust. So with that in mind, several of these books, there is a trigger for violence, Holocaust violence, or murder, other things such as that nature that you do need to be aware of. If you are sensitive to that, you may want to step away from the book for a little bit. I think it's important to read these books, but take the time, take the break, and engage yourself in another activity or another book, but then come back, because these are important reads, I feel. The next book I really enjoyed. I listened to the audiobook, and I was so excited because it was actually read by the author. The only thing that let me down was that it just goes on the backstory of her life. But it is Carrie Fisher's The Princess Diarist. This book was written and published not long before she passed away. It's written by Carrie Fisher. The audiobook is narrated by Carrie Fisher, and I really enjoyed it. I wish she went into more of the mental health aspects, and the issues that she dealt with in her life with bipolar, BD. That was the only thing that was a little sad. It does go behind the scenes in her life, behind the scenes on set at a lot of the Star Wars shootings, filmings of Star Wars. So that was very neat and interesting. So I learned a lot about the people that she did interact with during the filming of the movies, the Star Wars movies. So that is very, very interesting to me. Also, with the next movie, The Last Jedi, coming out, it has her in the movie. It's her final movie. This is her final book, and I think it would be a great read if you're interested in a autobiography. It was actually written by her. It was not ghostwritten. She wrote every word. Is from the diaries that she kept during the filming of the Star Wars movies, and her thoughts and opinions and feelings of actors and things like that. So this was very good to read, and I enjoyed listening to it on audiobook as well, because you got to hear Carrie Fisher's voice, and the amount of feeling she had, and the pain she went through, and the things that she went through were real, and you got to hear that in her voice. The final book that I have is a book that I'm currently reading. It was in fiction section, and it is a non-fiction book. I haven't finished the book, but I am currently reading the book, and it is Librarian of Auschwitz, The Librarian of Auschwitz. It's about a young lady named Dita Krause who works on Block 31 as an underground librarian and is in charge. I had recently said in a video that my wife posted, previous video before, that it was 4 books, but she was actually in charge of 8 books. I had to go back and recall exactly how many books she was in charge of. She was in charge of 8 books. And just to give you a little bit of information, this book was written by Antonio Ube, and it was originally written in Spanish, and it was translated by Lilette Therwades, and it is about this young girl who was 14 at the time, and her name is Dita Krause. And let's see if I can find the first page. So, to the reader, I want to tell you how the book you are holding came into being. Some years ago, the Spanish author Antonio Urtubi was searching for someone who could tell him some details about the book on the children's block, the books on the children's block in Auschwitz-Birkenau concentration camp. He received my internet address, and we started exchanging emails. His were short, apologetic questions, and mine long, detailed answers. But when we met in Prague, and for 2 days, I showed him where I grew up and where I played in a sandbox and went to school, and the house that my parents and I, left forever when we were sent to Terezin ghetto by the Nazi occupants. The next day, we even traveled to Terezin itself. Before we parted, Tony said, "Everyone knows about the largest library in the world, but I'm going to write a book about the smallest library in the world and its librarian." This is a book that you are holding. Of course, he wrote it in Spanish, and this is a translation. He used much of what I told him, but he diligently collected facts from other sources. Still, despite the historical correctness of the narrative, this is not a documentary. It is a story born both from my own experiences and the rich integration of the author, the rich imagination of the author. Thank you for reading and sharing it, Dita Krause. And it has a picture of her on the page, Dita. So, So, well, it does say his imagination. Some parts sprung from his imagination, and parts were from what she told him. So, I'm assuming some of what is in this book. I thought all of what was in this book really happened, because there are individuals in here that are real individuals. So, I would like to know your thoughts and opinions about this book, and see what you thought about this book and the other books that I have mentioned in this video. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, or click the bell icon to be notified as to when my wife and I post new videos. We thank you for watching, and we hope you have a wonderful day. Peace, love, coffee, and books. Shalom.